That's what the Stooges sound like. And then the other concept I think that's behind them is that, and this, I think some people will take issue with this, but it's like one of the last white punk mutations of the blues. You might make arguments about Jack White, which I don't want to really hear, because people did stuff before he did that, and it's kind of adaptive from the Stooges stuff. But I think what they did was one of the last mutations that white punks, and the Stones were white punks. Dylan was a punk. He really was, I think. And it was one of the last real unique mutations of the blues. So those are just some things I hope that Jarmusch, and we're in the hands of a master director here, Jim Jarmusch. I would caution you, there's one thing I'm kind of worried about, having not seen it. You can't trust critics, I think, sometimes when they write about their favorite bands or they make work about it, because they can't be objective. And there's reasons to be objective about this band. They were certainly not perfect, and that was one of the beautiful things about them. They were so imperfect. But I hope you will watch this great filmmaker wrestle with the difficulty of making a great film about a band that he's got to have a little distance from, so that we understand who they really are. I'm trying to think all the things I want to talk to you about. My friend Greg here made me think this is also one of the first bands where you could hear them and go, I could do that. Like when we think about that, I think mostly we think about the Ramones. But the Ramones are like Emerson, Lake and Palmer really compared to the Stooges. And that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but not much of one. I think when you hear the Stooges, you go, Jesus, this is so fucking stripped down. I need to go do this right now. I can't sing, can't play any instruments. My first two bands, each of those first two bands did a Stooges song because they're easy, but it's deceptive because you can only get so primitive, and once you do that the first time, you can't get more primitive. Well, they actually did 3 albums in a row that did primitive 3 different ways, but then they even tried to get back and try to do it again, and they couldn't, so it's hard to replicate. If you're interested, you don't know much about them, their first album, The Stooges, produced by John Cale of the Velvet Underground, is really great, but it's kind of hampered by one long, slow. I've come to like it. There's one droning, horrible song, really, but you love them so much, you kind of grow toward it. Funhouse is their second album.